Ladies and gentlemen, there are few experiences more profound than the moment when we lose someone we love. This loss can leave a void that seems unfillable, an empty space not only in the world but also in our hearts. Yet, in the midst of such sorrow, many of us have had an intriguing experience, a dream of the person we have lost. When this happens, one might wonder, what does it mean? What do these dreams signify? Are they mere echoes of memory, or do they carry something more profound? To begin, it is important to recognize that dreams are not random events. They are the workings of our subconscious, a realm where our emotions, thoughts, and memories come to the surface in symbols and stories. When we dream of someone who has passed, it is often a reflection of our emotional state and the process we are going through. It may not necessarily be the departed reaching out to us, but rather our minds reaching for them, attempting to reconcile with the reality of their absence. Such dreams might signify the continuation of a bond. In the realm of the human heart, love does not cease with the physical departure of a loved one. While we may no longer see them or hear their voice in the waking world, there are moments, even in sleep, when our connection with them appears unchanged. These dreams might express a longing for closeness, a desire to hold on to something that cannot be held. In these moments, the soul may still be learning to adjust to the absence of the physical presence of a loved one. Beyond this emotional yearning, we must also consider the psychological aspect. The grief we experience can lead to a tumult of unresolved emotions, guilt, regret, fear, and even unspoken love. Dreams about those who have passed can be a manifestation of these emotions, an attempt by our minds to process and understand what we could not resolve in life. Perhaps we wish to say things we never had the chance to express, or perhaps we are seeking closure on something left unfinished. Our dreams, in these cases, become a space where we can speak our truths without fear or hindrance. It is necessary to reflect upon the deeper philosophical questions these dreams might raise. Dreams of the departed may lead us to consider the nature of life and death itself. Is death truly the end, or is there something beyond it, a continuation of our relationships, albeit in a different form? These dreams, though veiled in mystery, ask us to contemplate the meaning of our existence and our connection to those who have gone before us. They remind us that while the body perishes, the essence of who we are and the love we share may transcend the boundaries of time and space. The spiritual significance of dreams involving someone who has passed away is a concept that has intrigued humanity for centuries. Many cultures, religious traditions, and philosophical schools of thought have long believed that the connections between the living and the deceased do not end with death. Instead, they posit that the bond transcends physical separation and continues to manifest in various ways, often through dreams. Dreams of the deceased can be seen not merely as fleeting recollections of a departed loved one, but as spiritual or symbolic communications. They might suggest that, on a deeper level, the relationship we had with the person continues to exist in a form that is not constrained by the boundaries of life and death. In many traditions, dreams of the dead are viewed as a kind of spiritual encounter. These dreams are not just products of the subconscious mind, but are thought to be visits or messages from the departed. For instance, in some cultures, it is believed that the deceased may return in dreams to offer guidance, deliver messages, or provide reassurance to their loved ones still living. Such dreams are seen as a sign that the soul of the deceased is at peace or is continuing its journey beyond the physical realm, and that their connection to the living remains intact in a different form. The belief in these types of dreams can provide comfort to the living, offering a sense of continuity and a reaffirmation of the enduring nature of relationships even after death. From a spiritual perspective, dreams about those who have passed may also serve as a means of closure or healing. The emotional bond we share with a loved one does not simply disappear once they are no longer physically present. In fact, the grief we experience can be prolonged, especially when the loss feels unresolved or when there were things left unsaid or undone. Dreams involving the deceased can provide an opportunity for individuals to engage with their grief in a meaningful way. These dreams might allow for reconciliation, allowing the dreamer to say things they never had the chance to express while the person was alive. In this sense, the dream acts as a therapeutic space where the soul can process the loss and begin to heal. The deceased may appear in the dream in a reassuring manner, offering words of comfort or guidance that help to ease the emotional burden of loss. The spiritual significance of such dreams may extend to the idea of continuity and transformation rather than finality. Death, in this sense, is not perceived as an absolute end, but as a transition to another form of existence. Dreams about the deceased may serve as a reminder that while the physical body may be gone, the essence of a person, their energy, spirit, or soul remains present in some form. This view aligns with various philosophical and spiritual teachings that emphasize the immortality of the soul. According to such traditions, dreams of the deceased can be interpreted as signs of this ongoing spiritual presence, encouraging the living to consider that death is not the severance of a connection, but rather a transformation of the relationship into a different realm. These dreams may highlight the idea of interconnection, the sense that our lives are intertwined with those of others, even beyond the grave, is a deeply spiritual concept. Dreams of the deceased may remind us of the invisible threads that link us to those we love, no matter where they are in their journey. They underscore the idea that life is not an isolated experience, but one in which we are perpetually connected to the people we care about. In this context, dreams about the departed serve to remind us of the spiritual web that binds us all together, transcending the limits of space, time, and even death itself. The symbolic nature of dreams plays a crucial role in understanding their spiritual significance. Often the deceased may not appear in the dream in a direct or literal form. Instead, their appearance may be symbolic, representing an aspect of the self or a theme related to the relationship shared with them. These dreams can serve as metaphors for emotional states or unresolved issues that the dreamer is working through. For example, the dream of a deceased parent may not be about that specific person, but about the qualities they represented, such as protection, guidance, or unconditional love. Through these symbolic representations, the dream may encourage the dreamer to reflect on these qualities within themselves or to address the emotional needs that have not been fully met. The spiritual significance of dreams about the deceased is not solely about receiving direct messages from the other side. Rather, they can be viewed as a tool for spiritual reflection and growth. The dreamer may find themselves in a situation where they are compelled to confront old wounds, make peace with the past, or re-examine their relationship to life and death. Through this process, the dream can serve as a conduit for spiritual transformation, where the dreamer's understanding of their own life, their connection to the departed, and their place in the larger tapestry of existence is deepened and enriched. Ultimately, the spiritual meaning of dreams of the deceased invites us to consider a reality that extends beyond the material world. These dreams challenge our understanding of life and death and encourage us to look beyond the visible and tangible to explore the invisible connections that bind us to those who have gone before us. In doing so, they offer a vision of continuity, healing, and interconnectedness, fostering a deeper understanding of the nature of existence and the enduring power of love. The psychological and emotional aspects of dreaming about someone who has passed away are deeply tied to the process of grief and the unresolved feelings that often accompany loss. The human psyche is remarkably complex, and when we experience the death of a loved one, it creates an emotional upheaval that can manifest in many ways, including in our dreams. Grief is not a linear process, and it often involves a mixture of emotions that can be difficult to understand. The subconscious mind, in an effort to process and cope with the loss, may turn to dreams as a way of expressing and working through these complex feelings. When we dream of a deceased loved one, it may represent an opportunity for the mind to reconcile these emotions and attempt to find peace. Dreams of the deceased can often be linked to feelings of unresolved grief. The loss of someone close to us often leaves a gap in our lives, and sometimes that grief can be so profound that it doesn't fully resolve over time. These dreams may be a reflection of the subconscious mind's attempt to process and work through the lingering sadness or regret that has not yet been addressed. For instance, if there were things left unsaid, or if the relationship was complicated, dreams of the deceased may serve as an avenue for the grieving person to confront those unfinished emotional matters. In this way, the dream might allow the dreamer to work through their grief in a safe, controlled environment, where they can speak to the person who has passed or relive moments that were left unresolved. These dreams may serve as a means of emotional release. Grief, especially when it is not expressed, can manifest in various forms of tension, anxiety, or depression. The subconscious mind is often more adept at handling emotions than the conscious mind, and when grief is not fully dealt with during waking hours, it may emerge through dreams. For example, a dream in which the deceased appears might be marked by sadness, but also by moments of clarity or peace. Such dreams may offer a sense of closure, allowing the dreamer to feel as if they've had one final interaction with their loved one, which helps release some of the emotional weight they have been carrying. Through the dream, the mind can temporarily find solace, even if just for a moment, as it helps to process feelings of loss that may be too painful or difficult to acknowledge during the day. To unresolved grief, these dreams can also reflect the ongoing need for emotional connection. When someone we love dies, it's not just their physical presence that we miss, but also the emotional exchange that took place. The presence of a deceased person in a dream may represent the subconscious yearning for that connection. For instance, someone may dream of a deceased parent and feel an overwhelming sense of love or protection in the dream. Even though that parent is no longer physically present, the emotional need for their guidance, warmth, or affection persists. Dreams, in this sense, become a way for the mind to revisit that emotional connection, to temporarily satisfy the longing for closeness, and to feel as if the bond is still intact, if only for the duration of the dream. Such dreams are often marked by positive, nurturing feelings and can provide a brief respite from the emotional void left by the person's death. On the other hand, dreams of the deceased may also be reflective of guilt, regret, or unresolved conflict. These emotions are common during the grieving process, especially if there were tensions or unresolved issues in the relationship before death occurred. For instance, someone who feels guilty for not having spent enough time with a loved one, or who regrets things left unsaid, may experience dreams where these issues are brought to the forefront. These dreams may take on an intense, sometimes confrontational nature, where the deceased either expresses discontent or is seen in a situation where they are waiting for something from the dreamer. These types of dreams can be quite painful, but they are also a way for the subconscious mind to attempt resolution. In the case of guilt, the dream may serve as a call for the dreamer to come to terms with their feelings and to find forgiveness within themselves. Through such dreams, the subconscious mind may be offering an opportunity for emotional catharsis and self-forgiveness, providing the person with a way to address emotions that have been kept hidden or ignored. Additionally, dreams involving the deceased may reflect the individual's need for closure. Closure, in this sense, refers not just to the finality of death, but to the resolution of emotional issues tied to the relationship. Sometimes, when a person dies suddenly or unexpectedly, the survivors are left without the ability to say goodbye or make peace. This can result in an emotional state of limbo, where the surviving person feels that there is no proper closure to the relationship. Dreams of the deceased, particularly in cases where the relationship was unresolved or where the death was sudden, can serve as a tool for the mind to simulate a last conversation or final farewell. In these dreams, the deceased might offer words of comfort or acknowledgement, providing the dreamer with a sense of resolution they did not have when the person was alive. It is important to note that these dreams are not always necessarily about the deceased individual themselves, but about what they represent emotionally. The deceased person may symbolize an aspect of the self, a lost part of the dreamer's identity, or an emotional need that has not been met. For example, the dream of a deceased loved one may not only represent that person, but also the qualities they embodied, such as safety, wisdom, or love that the dreamer now feels are missing in their life. In such cases, the dream serves as a means of reconnecting with these qualities, which may have been lost after the person passed away. This deeper psychological function of the dream may highlight the dreamer's need to reclaim or remember certain strengths or aspects of themselves that were once nurtured by the relationship. The philosophical reflection on life and death, particularly through the lens of dreams involving deceased loved ones, invites us to explore profound questions about the nature of existence, the continuity of relationships, and the role of memory in shaping our understanding of life. Dreams about those who have passed away often carry with them a sense of mystery and wonder, leading us to question whether death marks the final end of our relationships or whether there is something beyond the grave that continues to connect us to those we've lost. The experience of dreaming about the deceased challenges us to reconsider the boundaries between life and death, urging us to think more deeply about what it means to live, to love, and to remember. One of the central philosophical themes that emerge from dreams about the deceased is the question of whether death truly represents an absolute end or simply a transition to a different state of being. In many spiritual and philosophical traditions, death is not seen as the termination of a person's existence, but rather as a transformation. These traditions often posit that the essence of a person, whether understood as the soul, spirit, or some other non-material aspect of being, continues on after physical death. When we dream of someone who has passed, it can be seen as a reflection of this belief, suggesting that the deceased person's energy or presence is still with us in some form. In this way, the dream serves as a reminder that death does not sever the connection between individuals. Instead, it suggests that life and death are part of a continuous cycle, where relationships are not confined to the temporal world but extend beyond it, albeit in a different form. The continuity of the connection we share with those who have died is expressed through these dreams, which allow us to maintain a relationship with them even after their physical departure. The dream of the deceased also raises important philosophical questions about the nature of memory and its role in our perception of life and death. Memory is often what keeps our loved ones alive in our hearts and minds long after they are gone, but what happens when memory begins to fade or when we can no longer remember them as vividly? Dreams of the departed may be a response to this fear of forgetting, reminding us that memory does not die with the body but can continue to bring the essence of that person back to life, even in fleeting moments. In this way, dreams of the deceased can be seen as a form of living memory, a bridge between the past and the present that keeps the person's spirit alive within us. The dream may invite us to reflect on how we hold on to the memories of those who have passed, and to consider how the act of remembering itself becomes a way of preserving their legacy and continuing their influence in our lives. The philosophical reflection on death and dreams points to the human need for meaning and purpose in the face of mortality. Death, as an inevitable part of life, often compels us to confront the fragility of existence and the transitory nature of our time on earth. The appearance of the deceased in dreams can be understood as a reflection of our need to make sense of this ultimate reality. Dreams of the departed may offer us a sense of reassurance or comfort, suggesting that death is not a final separation, but rather a transformation or a transition to something else. In this sense, the dream serves as a tool for existential reflection, offering us the opportunity to consider our own beliefs about what happens after death and what role the dead continue to play in the living world. Through these dreams, we are reminded that the search for meaning in life and the quest for understanding the nature of existence are ongoing processes, even after someone we love has passed away. Dreams of the deceased can prompt us to reconsider the very nature of existence itself. If life is marked by connections by love, relationships, and shared experiences, then what is the true nature of these connections? Are they bound by time, space, and the limitations of the physical body, or do they extend beyond these boundaries? Philosophers have long debated the question of whether human existence is confined to the material world or whether there is something beyond the physical that continues to influence our lives. Dreams about the deceased challenge us to think beyond the physical, to consider the idea that our relationships with others might not end with death, but might instead continue in some form that transcends the material world. These dreams invite us to reflect on the idea that death is not the end of love, but rather a transformation in how love is expressed and experienced. This line of thinking encourages us to reconsider the finite nature of life and embrace a more expansive view of human existence, one in which connections are not constrained by the physical realm but can persist beyond it. In light of these philosophical reflections, dreams of the deceased also highlight the concept of interconnection and the idea that our lives are not separate, isolated experiences but part of a greater whole. The appearance of a deceased loved one in a dream can serve as a reminder of the interconnectedness of all beings and the profound impact we have on one another throughout our lives. The bonds we share with others, even after they have passed, suggest that life is not simply an individual journey, but a shared experience, where our relationships continue to shape us and our understanding of the world. In this way, the dream becomes a symbol of the continuing influence of others in our lives, even after their deaths. It suggests that the connections we form during our time on earth are part of a larger, more intricate web of existence that transcends the boundaries of individual lives and continues to impact the living long after the physical bodies have passed away. Dreams of the deceased raise questions about the human need for transcendence and the search for a deeper understanding of life. Our dreams, particularly those involving departed loved ones, may be seen as a way of seeking connection to something greater than ourselves, something eternal, unchanging, and beyond the material world. In the face of death, we often turn inward, searching for meaning, purpose, and understanding. These dreams may be a reflection of that search, offering a glimpse of a reality that is beyond our ordinary, waking experiences. Through these dreams, we are reminded that the questions surrounding life and death are not easily answered, but that the search for meaning in the face of mortality is an inherent part of the human experience. It is in the contemplation of death, the memory of the deceased, and the dreams that bridge the gap between life and death that we begin to touch upon the deeper mysteries of existence.